And so what's the remedy of that? What's the remedy of a criminal society who becomes morally criminal? In this society, most of us, we abide by the law, the speed limit, tax, whatever, basic laws, right? But moral laws, when will people actually become moral? When will heinous kinds of crimes stop? How do you keep a society from becoming excessively shameless and lewd and vulgar? How do you stop those kinds of laws or those kinds of violations? How do you stop them? The solution is in the next ayah. Inna ila rabbika ruj'a. No doubt, it is only to your master that the ultimate return will take place. Until you believe there's an akhirah, until you believe you will pay for everything you did, even the things you think you got away with, until you're convinced of that, you will not change morally. You will not change morally. You know, there are two kinds of people. There are people, the average people, they need to have laws. They need rules to follow. Otherwise they will go crazy. Then there are higher, more people with higher sensibilities. People that are at a higher level of morality. Those are the kinds of people, they don't do good because they want to go to Jannah or they're afraid of hellfire. They do good because they want to please Allah. That's a higher goal. But most people aren't at that level. Don't assume about yourself that you're at this high level. Assume about yourself, you need to get away from hellfire. This is, understand that about yourself. That we are at a certain level where we need to think of the consequences first. If you mature yourself in your good deeds, then eventually, yes, you will do things for the pleasure of Allah. But in the beginning, it's really not because you're seeking, the pleasure of Allah, you don't care about anything else. It's because if you do bad, there will be consequences. So, inna ila rabbika ruj'a covers all of that. The one who doesn't want to disappoint Allah Azza wa Jalla, he'll be returned to Allah. He doesn't want to stand before Allah having done humiliating things. A simple example before we go on, if you do something terrible and your mother finds out, right? You did something humiliating and it was caught on tape and your mother is watching the video. How embarrassed would you be, right? You would stop doing whatever it was because it was so humiliating, even though you're really tempted to do it because it was so embarrassing that a loved one saw it. When someone develops a love for Allah Azza wa Jal, then they realize this humiliating thing I'm doing, Allah is watching. Right? And they develop this sense of shame. How can I do this when Allah is watching? Same way you wouldn't do certain things when your parents are watching. You wouldn't do certain things when your husband's watching, or when your brother's watching, your sister's watching. When people are watching, you wouldn't do certain things. You'd become conscious. You'd develop that kind of consciousness about Allah. But before that, a consciousness of the hereafter. Yes, to your master is the return, which also implies punishment and reward. SubhanAllah.